Hey there, Super's here, and I'm here to talk about the Papa Louie games from Flipline Studios today. I'll be discussing lore snippets, briefly talk about the timeline, and some of my own theories. Let's get into the first topic, the timeline. Now, looking into the timeline, we got some interesting topics to think about right here. So, you may just be thinking, oh hey, it's Papa's Pizzeria, the first one in the games. Well, you'd kind of be mistaken. Actually, it all started on November 9th, 2006, when the game Papa Louie When Pizzas Attack released. The main gist of Papa Louie When Pizzas Attack is that you are Papa. Roy has accidentally given out pizza boxes to everybody in the building, which then Sarge came through and kidnapped everyone, taking them into Munchmore. In this, Papa travels through the pizza boxes in everybody's apartment rooms, going through the building and saving everybody from Munchmore and the evil Onion Ring, which is technically the army that Sarge commands. Sarge is a giant living onion, as I could say, basically. And of course, he is an army sergeant. After this, you basically just defeat him and get back to the building, where everybody celebrates with pizza. Then, almost a year later, on August 7th, 2007, the one game itself had released, Papa's Pizzeria. In this, you actually play as Roy. You take people's orders and you make their pizzas. That's generally just what the game is. Nothing special about it. Then we cut to 2 years later. On December 6th, 2010, Papa's Burgeria has released. In Papa's Burgeria, you either play as Marty or Rita. Either way, in the beginning cutscene, you receive a golden ticket in the mail, and it says to come to a certain area. Once you follow the X marks a spot on the map, it shows that Papa Louie and Roy are waiting for you. Turns out they are right beside their newest restaurant, Papa's Burgeria. You are now the worker. Have fun and do your job. Although, the rest of these games in the timeline basically are just kind of the same type of process. You come to this area, something happens, either like bad or you win a contest, and you now work at the new restaurant alone. Nope, Papa in sight. So I will be mainly skipping over some information and get to the more important topics. The rest of the timeline mainly goes as follows. On May 20th, 2011, Taco Mia had released. On August 5th, 2011, Papa's Freezeria had also released, 2 in the same year. On March 5th, 2012, Papa's Pancakeria had released. And also on November 19th, 2012, Papa's Hot Doggeria had also released. Now, 2013 is a really interesting year, because in that year alone, 4 Papa's Louie games had been released. And now, the 4 games are as follows. June 5th, Papa Louie When Burgers Attack. June 13th, Papa's Wingeria. August 7th, Papa's Cupcakeria. And December 9th, Papa's Pastaria. Now moving on to 2014, on June 16th, Papa's Donateria had released. Now, in 2015, they released 2 games. On March 4th, they released Papa Louie When Sundays Attack. And on June 10th, they released Papa's Cheeseria. 2016, they also released 2 games yet again. On March 14th, they released Papa's Bakeria, and on December 13th, they released Papa's Sushiria. Now, we skip a year and go to 2018, when we are at July 24th, when Papa's Scooperia had released. On March 2nd, 2021, they released Papa's Mocheria, and on February 22nd, 2022, they released Papa's Cluckeria. And now, the most recent game had came out this year on March 7th, Papa's Palateria. Now, That may seem like a lot, but don't worry, you don't have to memorize all of these. But some parts of this timeline will come back later in the video when I talk about a main point in one of my theories. Now, on to our next segment, honorable lore mentions. In this section, I will be covering little lore snippets that may be important, and honestly things that I find interesting that I think is worth mentioning. First, a really important topic. Warp coins. Now, you may be wondering, hey, what are warp coins? And I will be talking about that. Warp coins are an important item that basically are coins that look like a sun. They are able to open portals and transport things through said portals. Warp coins originally came from the X Kingdom, which is now known as the X Zone, but I will get onto that topic in a later moment. Now, warp coins are really important for me to introduce here because they're very important to the lore and my theory. Warp coins are used by Papa Louie when Burger's attack main antagonist Radley Madish. Radley Madish is an evil radish scientist from Munchmore who uses warp coins to kidnap everybody in Free Burger Day and Papa's Burgeria. I'll talk more about Radley Madish in another time, but please keep warp coins in mind. Now, onto more important characters. We come across Bonnie and Yolanda from Papa's Cluckeria. And now you may be asking, who is Bonnie and Yolanda? Well, I'm here to tell you. Bonnie and Yolanda are antagonists in Papa's Cluckeria, and they run the Crumple Family Chicken. They compete against you in the Chicken Wars, but end up losing after they are arrested for stealing Papa Louie's secret recipe. So afterwards, you find out that they escaped jail, and if you look very closely into the screenshot, you can see a warp coin hidden under the bunk bed. That will come up later. Now, onto some honorable mentions, because honestly, I just think these parts of the lore are honestly just pretty neat. First of all, we have Brussels larks, an enemy from Papa Louie when Burger's attack. They're basically just birds that are Brussels sprouts. They're just basically fruit creatures like everyone else in Munchmore. It says on their wiki page that Brussels larks had came through a portal that Radley Madish had opened during his raid and are basically now in the Flipverse. Well, I guess everything is Flipverse? Well, whatever. They are now in Leaf Landing. Since then, they had multiplied and are now a common bird across the land. If you look at their flip deck, you can see in the background that Powder Point can be seen. It also states that one of the characters in Papa Louie, Perry, once competed in a cycling event to raise money and to protect the Brussels larks. Now, onto my other mention is Robbie. Now, about Robbie. Robbie was once a normal man, but he started to spend all of his money on pizzas from Papa's Pizzeria, which he lived in the apartment complex above. In this time, he needed money, so he joined a shrimp boat for the job as a deckhand. Though soon, the boat had capsized during a storm, and he was now stranded on an island where he stayed for about 3 years until Captain Corey rescued him. There's a lot of other characters who have interesting lore, but I'm only really mentioning Robbie, Bonnie, and Yolanda for now. On another video, I will cover other characters, especially my favorite characters, Xandra and Zolo, because oh my god, they have interesting lore. Now, we're on to my third and final segment of this video, my theories. First of all, my first theory, and probably my most important and most developed, is my theory that Bonnie and Yolanda are somehow have ties to Radley Madish himself. And now you may be asking, how do Bonnie and Yolanda even have ties to Radley Madish? How would they have ties to Radley Madish? And this is where I come in to explain myself. This theory could probably be easily disproven, but for now I'm kind of just sticking with my own theory. Basically, how my theory goes is that Bonnie and Yolanda are connected to Radley Madish because of one particular thing, the warp coins. If you remember in an earlier sentence that I had said, I talked about Bonnie and Yolanda escaping prison using a warp coin. And here is my theory and where it comes to play. My theory is that Radley Madish had basically teamed up with Bonnie and Yolanda after seeing how much trouble they had caused for Papa Louie. My reasoning of this is because if you looked at their flip deck, you would see that Radley Madish hates Papa Louie's loyal customers. It's in one of his dislikes. And Bonnie and Yolanda seem to have caused a lot of trouble for Papa in Papa's Cluckeria. So, for me, it would make sense that they had teamed up to try and defeat Papa Louie. But of course, they needed a way to escape prison. And you want to know how they escaped prison? Probably by Radley Madish teaching them how to use warp coins. And now you may be thinking, oh, but supers, they could have just done it by themselves. But you want to know why I probably think that isn't true? It's because Radley Madish is more intelligent, most likely, than Bonnie and Yolanda. He is a whole scientist, and they are basically just sisters who run a chicken restaurant. Now, this isn't any shade to Bonnie and Yolanda. I'm pretty sure they might be pretty smart themselves. I mean, look at what they've done. And another thing that could probably disprove this is the fact that in the X Kingdom and the X Zone, it basically is stated that whenever the X Kingdom became the X Zone, the warp coins were scattered around. Which probably means Bonnie and Yolanda either got their hands on a warp coin by this way, or because Radley Madish personally helped them escape. Now, I know this theory isn't 100% foolproof, but that's why it's a theory. This is honestly just what I'm thinking about this current situation. Another interesting thing to mention, though, is that in a post before New Year's, before 2015, it was basically in a news headline in-game that showed, and it said, increased concerns about warp coins. Now, this probably means that Radley Madish had been doing some things in the continent that the Papa's games take place in before the events of Papa Louie when Burgers Attack had released. But this also kind of means that there was general knowledge about warp coins before Radley Madish had kind of came around. So this may disprove my theory just a tiny bit, because they may just know how they work before. Bonnie and Yolanda could have just known. But I'm still kind of sticking with my theory, because it honestly makes a bit of sense. To me, at least. Now, this is where I'd like to personally end things off. I feel like I've covered a lot of good topics today, and there's still much more that I could possibly talk about in other videos. And also, if you would like me to cover any topics about the Papa's games, or if you'd just like to hear about something, just leave a comment and ask me. I'd be glad to answer. And with all this being said, I hope you leave a like and have a good day.